Good morning, YouTubers. I'm hoping that you guys can see that pretty well. I think that's pretty good. If not, I will adjust the camera. I got a lot of stuff in my hands, and I'm thinking you guys don't need the shaky hand look. Okay, my name's Josh. I did a YouTube video regarding the disc brake kit for my Sacco kit, and somebody had some questions regarding the dual master cylinder installation. And unfortunately, I said I was going to do it, but I got tied up and went on a vacation with my wife, which was duly needed, and so I never got around to it. So I just wanted to do this quick video for you guys so you can see kind of the concept of it, and then you should be able to do the install yourself. Pretty simple. And again, the install is relatively simple. I think when you're looking on some of the videos online and reading some of the articles, it makes it seem like it's this really complicated thing, and I thought that was the case too myself, but quite frankly it was actually pretty easy, with the exception of the master cylinder, the dual master cylinder itself, just getting the correct one for your particular model of bus. Okay, mine's a 66, but there's some different model bases, so to speak, for each model bus. Now the one, I will say, the one that they sent with it was the wrong one. It had these inlets were in a different configuration, but I took it right up the street. They're not that far from my house, and I went and brought it in. Ed and the guys at Seiko Performance are really good guys. Swapped it out, and I was back on the road, and they'll be happy to do that online orders and everything too. So here's what you have. Obviously you have the dual master cylinder. You can see the reservoir here, and you have brake lines coming in, and then you have your plunger. Now I have done 4 of these kits so far. The question had come up via text message to me about the orifice here on this base plate, and I have not run into the orifice being smaller where there's some grinding that needs to get done so that the base of this master cylinder base, the body of it has to fit through here. You can see there's like a little bit of a space here so that the plunger will go through. I haven't seen it yet, but I've done a lot of reading on it, and I would say if you do have that smaller orifice, first thing to do would be to check to make sure you got the right master cylinder. And then 2, if you do have to do any type of modifications, it's going to be pretty minimal. These bases are pretty close, so I would suggest maybe getting a small die grinder and just kind of banging out this little area, just a tiny little grind, because they'll slide right in pretty simple. These bases are pretty close to each other, but there are some that are a little bit off. Again, I haven't ran into it yet out of the 4 I've done, but just so you guys know. Very simple process. When I took off the old master cylinder, clearly I took off all the brake lines and the sending unit, right? It easily went into the same setup. So you have these 2 mounting bolts that are right here, okay? These 2 mounting bolts are very simple to come off. If yours have been on there a long time, as you can see underneath my bus, I drive my bus. I'm a daily driver kind of guy, and I've got some rust and some love down here, and if you're that kind of guy, you'll know that these bolts are probably on there pretty good. So you may want to spray them down with some PB lubricant or some WD-40 or something of that nature. Let it sit for a little bit, and then they'll pop right off. So once you get them off, you can pull the old master cylinder out, disconnect the lines. Clearly you know you're going to end up having to bleed your lines. I got a really cool kit that hooks up to my compressor, which generates vacuum, and once I put everything back together, I pulled it out of the brake cylinders, and it literally is perfect. So it depends on how you want to do it. If you've got a patient wife or a buddy that'll sit in the truck for you and pump the brakes, that works well too. So what you have here is, once you do the install, you're going to want to know the configuration of the brake lines. Now, these are the stock brake lines. So those of you that are watching right now that are freaking out going, oh man, I don't want to have to do the rerouting of the lines, feel comfortable that you're seeing it and hearing it right now. Stock brake line, stock brake line, stock brake line. Did not change anything. I did not cut and bend or go to the store to grab these lines and mold them. Stock brake line, stock brake line, stock brake line. So you can do it very, very simply by yourself, okay? The only thing that's a little bit of a trick with this setup is this one right here, okay? So this is my rear brake line, okay? Now, the reason why it was a little tricky is I want you guys to understand that there's a pressure valve, a little pressure ball. It's a tiny little ball that's inside that. I might be able to get one for you here. I'll probably pause the camera and let you see it. But inside this, as it screws into the body, there's a little ball that creates pressure when you push on the plunger, right? As the brake fluid comes through, it creates a little bit more pressure, and the reason is it's set up for disc brakes, the fluctuation in the master cylinders that are at the brakes. Okay, so you're going to have some pressure that's there. That pressure relief needs to stay there. So the reason why I say it's tricky is one of these, which whatever configuration your bus has or brake lines when they screw these in, one of these has to keep that pressure regulator and that little valve in there, because unless you're going disc brake all the way around, but if you're going disc brake in the front and drum in the back like I did, you need to keep one, and the one that you need to keep is for the rear. Okay, so the rear must have that pressure valve in it. Okay, you will know the difference because when you get the kit, like you can see this one, it's a little shinier, it's nicer because it's newer, right? And so is this one over here. They don't have it. They don't have it in it. You'll look inside here and it's just threaded here, but it's almost a direct pass through. And the only reason that's in here is because you have to have something to screw into the base, and then you have to have something for your brake line to screw into also. Okay, so it's almost a direct pass through. So when you're plunging, when you're stepping on the brakes and the plunger's going through, it's just directly pushing the brake fluid into the disc brake cylinders, the wheel cylinders, so you don't have to use that. But where in the back, the disc brakes or the drum brakes in the back, you definitely need that little pressure to actuate the master cylinders in the back. Okay, so that being said, once you find that, then you're good to go. Mine, clearly on the old master cylinder, went into the near the front, so I put it right back in the front. Again, no bending. I did not have to change the configuration whatsoever. The other two, obviously this is we're laying underneath, so sorry about that, but this is the driver's side, right? Driver's side brake, front brake, and this is the passenger side front brake, okay? They literally went in without any bending whatsoever. The only one I had to manhandle a little bit was this one, and when I say manhandle, I actually had to use my thumb a little bit to bend this little curve right here, just because I didn't want it to touch the sending unit wire. Other than that, I could have just put it right in. I was just trying to be cautious, so to speak, because I was worried about, movement and driving as much as I do and jiggling around. I didn't want anything to come loose, so to speak. So other than that, it went right in. Now, the other question was, I had a Twitter question regarding the master cylinder. Will the hole line up with the hole in the floor? And I will tell you that it will line up perfectly. I will actually pick up the camera in just a second here so I can show you. Hopefully don't want to ruin the shot, but it lines up. Let's see if I can get that in there without moving. So there is the access plate. I'm sure you guys all are aware of those little things. You got to spin off the plate. It's got a little 180 degree, and you spin and then you pop it off. Then you could access and put your brake fluid into your master cylinder hole. If you can kind of see, I'm going to try and make it so it's pretty tight there. That is the cap there, the little white cap. It is directly below it. So some have been concerned that it won't line up, that it'll sit too far back. I truly believe that it has a lot to do with the master cylinder, that you've got to get the correct master cylinder for your bus. If you're having issues with lining up, I believe that what some people are doing, and I don't want to call anybody out because everybody's doing their own thing. I think what they may be doing is utilizing a master cylinder that they have available, or one that their local store told them that was the right one, and it just won't line up. And I've seen it where it could be a little farther forward or farther back depending on that cap there. But all of the four that I've done, this cap right there that you see lines up underneath there perfectly. And I've done, like I said, there are different model years that I've done. I think I've done a 63, this one, which is a 66, another 66 that my buddy has, and then I just got done doing a 67. All of them perfect, lined up perfectly. So I haven't had any issues. So I would just suggest, some little research, make sure you see which one you have, and then you can kind of go from there, and I don't think you'll have any problems. Okay, so let me try and put this back here so I can get a little better view again. Okay, now I will tell you that there was a little challenge. Try and get a good picture of it. Okay. After this was all put in, sending unit, brake line, everything was in there. When I bolted this up, this was a bit of a challenge because, let's see if I can get a little more light on it. The plunger came through, and as you push on the brake, I can't really get a good view of it, but I'm assuming most of you know you've got the brake lever for us. And as you push on the brake, when there's a giant spring here that brings the plunger back and forth, but the lever, when you push on the brake, this lever pushes this plunger in, right? So this goes through. You'll notice this is aluminum. And I know some of you guys in Volkswagen land are going, what? Why would you do that? Why did you take off the original one? I didn't really want to, but it was rusted so bad I couldn't get the bolt out here. It was impossible to get it out. I tried. I just want people in Volkswagen land to know I tried. I really did. I would not have changed it if I couldn't, wouldn't have, but I tried and it wouldn't come off. So unfortunately, and I'm going to say this out loud, unfortunately I had to cut that piece off. Thinking that it would be relatively easy to find that piece somewhere down the road. I mean, it couldn't be that hard, right? I was wrong. And I'm telling you guys ahead of time, that little piece right there, that clevis piece, is almost impossible to find. Unless you've got a local junkyard that nobody has raped this out of, that is a hard piece to find. So whatever you do, don't cut it. Play with it. Heat it up. Do whatever you can if you can. Try and get it off. Mine, I heated it up. I did everything I could. It would not come off. I had to cut it. So there was a solution, and I want to give everybody the solution in case yours is as rusted as mine was. I don't want you guys to fret from doing this job because you can do it, okay? The solution is Seiko Performance. They build everything in their shop. They have a giant machine shop. They mill everything aluminum, every piece of aluminum you can think of. They'll mill it, create it, CNC it, whatever you want. They make this clevis piece that fits exactly on here, the exact same setup on here, okay, for a dune buggy, for their sand rails, okay? It is the exact same thread pitch. You'll notice that the plunger piece here is the original stock Volkswagen one that was here. That's the original plunger. That's the only thing that's different is just this little clevis. But this is the original Volkswagen threaded plunger that goes in. Nothing's changed there. I only changed this and obviously the cotter pin because it was shot too. But if you do indeed break that piece or have to cut it, and I think maybe I'm too wide of an angle, but let me just show you just in case. This piece right here, okay, if you do indeed break it, you're okay. Don't stress over it. If you have to cut it off because it's super rusty, don't stress over it. You can do it. Again, this piece is all original right here. All those threads, the nut, that's the original Volkswagen stuff going into the body as a plunger. I only had to replace that, and it literally fit. Like there's no this piece that's cut out for it on the clevis for the brake lever. Perfect. I mean, literally perfect. It fit everything perfect. It does come off a sand rail, and if you're a full-on VW enthusiast and you're like, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want anything that's not original. I completely understand. Hopefully you can search it and see if you can find one somewhere. I tried for about 3 weeks and I couldn't get it. I finally just said forget it and found that via Seiko Performance, and they took care of it for me. Other than that, guys, that's all it is. That is the installation. That is the whole kit altogether. The drum brake or disc brake kit went on perfect. The drums came off perfect. The disc went on perfect. This kit setup is easy, very, very easy. Other than that little sucker right there that gave me some trouble, the rest of it is very easy. Again, stock line, stock line, stock line, stock sending unit, stock bolt, another stock bolt holding it on, stock plunger. The only thing that was changed was that little fella right there. Okay, so I hope that helped. Let me give you another, before I get out of here too. I want to give everybody the kind of the configuration, because when you're taking a picture from underneath, that was one of the things that I had a problem with on the video, on some of the videos that I looked at too, was I didn't know which line goes where. So it's kind of weird when you're looking from underneath view. It's kind of tough. So what I'm going to try and do is give you a little bit more of a view from every different angle, so to speak. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of see what we're looking at, okay? So I'm going to take this, let me turn the light here on here a little bit. So I'm going to take this from the front of the bus, okay? So the front of the bus. So you can kind of, you see my steering box right here, okay? Does that help a little bit, kind of orientation, right? So this is the front of the bus. If you were crawling under the bus, this would be the hose or the line configuration, okay? So again, here is my rear. It has the pressure valve in there. This would be your driver's side, okay? Your driver's side front, passenger side front, okay? And then you have your sending unit with all your little wires and stuff going to it and so on and so forth. Rear, driver's side front, passenger side front, okay? Not much to it. There is the clevis and the plunger and the bolts. Pretty simple, okay? Underneath, pretty simple underneath, not much to it. And that should help you guys with the angles. Again, from the side, there's not much there. You got those two lines coming in. I know you're looking at it going, whoa, those lines look like they're different. That's kind of why I wanted to show you where they're going. Because once you go up in there, you'll see they kind of cross over and stuff. It's a little bit confusing when I was looking at it from the other videos, like, whoa, where are these two lines? Because they cross over. See how they cross over there? It was a little bit confusing. It took me a little bit to get it, but the two backs of this particular cylinder, that's a passenger side front, driver's side front, rear, okay? And that feeds the back and tees off into two, okay? And then that's it. All right, if you guys have any questions, feel free to give me a call. I am doing a little work today on the bus. I'm going to put a new exhaust on it and a couple other random things I got to take care of, and I got to put a windshield wiper motor in. And if anybody's ever done that, I know you feel my pain, because unfortunately I got to tear apart the dash to put it back in. So anyways, again, if you have any questions or if you have any comments or something that we can change, let me know. I'm an old school VW kind of guy, so I'm happy to listen to anything, any ideas that you guys have. Appreciate it. Have a good day.